Positive perspectives on Patricia Polacco's picture books. Many of Patricia Polacco's books are focused around the importance of dreaming and friendships. In the Lemonade Club, Miss Weichelman continuously encourages her students by telling them, if you can dream it, you can be it, while showing the unfortunate circumstances life can give you, like cancer. In this book, a young girl is diagnosed with leukemia, and the friendship she has with both her teachers and students helps her stay strong and courageous throughout this difficult time in her life, which discourages him from dreaming anymore. With his friends' help, they discover that dreaming is the only possible way to get them out of a difficult situation, leading their parents to find them in the woods thanks to Polacco's dreams. In Emma Kate, the story focuses on the unconditional friendship between a young girl and her imaginary elephant friend. Emma Kate was written based on Polacco's own experience from when she was young and had an imaginary elephant friend as her own, just like many of her other books are also written from her own childhood experiences. Dreaming is where it all begins for Patricia Polacco. She has 12 rocking chairs in her house, and when she is composing a story, she sits in one and rocks and dreams up, according to ReadingLady.com. The settings of many of Patricia Polacco's books are based in her own hometown of Union City, Michigan, or in the state of Michigan. The Graves family is about a family that just moved to Union City and the obstacles they face to make themselves fit in, while Emma Kate also takes place in Michigan. In Polacco's dream, Polacco is faced with many older people in his community not believing that his dreams really do color all over the town. Another way Polacco relates her books back to her own childhood is by the characters she uses. According to her website, Polacco states that you have probably noticed that in almost every book that I write, there is a very young person who is interacting with an elderly person. This is because she was raised by her grandparents. In Mrs. Katzentush, it is about the relationship that develops between an older woman and a young boy who quickly learns how much they have in common based on religion, their family backgrounds, and the struggles that they have endured throughout their lives. The themes of her books mainly focus on important issues we all face all over the world, such as war, poverty, friendship, holidays, traditions, weather, and cooking.
Patricia Polacco uses the same style of illustrations throughout her books. In her own words, she says, I use Pentel acetone markers. I will also paint into them with acrylic paint, number 2 and 6B pencils, and oil pastels. Sometimes, when you see photos of people in my books, like on a dresser in frames, I actually paste the photos into the artwork so that it would look like it belongs there. The photos that appear in my books are usually pictures of people that the book is actually about. The way she uses these tools shows the emotions and personality traits of the characters on the pages. She uses the same faces in all of her books. The same little girl appears in Thunder Cake, The Lemonade Club, Emma Kate, and Babushka's Doll. Patricia Polacco used her artistic gift to have the same face for the little girl, but have her in a different life each time. In her picture book, Chicken Sunday, she was able to portray the story of the children who wanted to buy an Easter bonnet for Miss Eula, but didn't have the money to do so. They find a way to get the money and prove their innocence after they are wrongly accused of throwing eggs at a store window. The characters in this book that she created resonate with rich color against wide white backgrounds. They're surrounded by telling details, Russian icons, and Eula May's family photographs, including real ones of Patricia and Stuart, who are friends to this day. But it's the gawky, tender, expressive humans who fill the foreground with their strong presence and spontaneous emotions. Patricia Polacco's folk art style and the bright, vibrant colors she uses help bring her stories to life. She is able to catch the attention of any audience reading her books.
Patricia Polacco's stories are listed under the genre of realistic fiction. Her books include stories that might have happened and contain events that are plausible. The settings are usually drawn from actual geography or realistic places. Polacco's books cover many of the subtypes of realistic fiction, including adventure stories, humorous stories, relationship stories, and historical fiction. Patricia Polacco uses her own childhood memories for inspiration in many of her books. She also gained inspiration from her family and the many stories they used to tell that contained rich cultural traditions. Patricia Polacco has written over 40 children's books, and each one invites readers into a realistic situation. Her books stress the importance of family traditions and memories and show the courage, humor, and humanity of ordinary people. Her characters find adventure and magic in everyday occurrences. Her stories provide a problem that encourages children to think about a possible solution. For example, in the story Thundercake, a young girl who is terrified of thunderstorms learns how to overcome her fear with the help of her grandmother and a cake recipe. This book is an example of an adventure story, which is one that shows a character's struggle against nature. It could also be considered a relationship story because this book focuses on a character's struggles with their own self-doubts. Another example of Polacco's use of realistic fiction with the subtype of relationship stories is The Lemonade Club. This story is about two young girls who are best friends. It's actually based on Patricia Polacco's own daughter and her best friend and their teacher, and it is truly inspirational. This story is a clear demonstration of a relationship story because it focuses on relations between people and not just the scary topic of cancer. Polacco's story of Mrs. Katz and Tush is a special Passover story about Larnell Moore, a young African-American boy, and Mrs. Katz, an elderly Jewish woman who develop an unusual friendship through their mutual concern for an abandoned cat named Tush. Together, they explore the common themes of suffering and triumph in each of their cultures. This book, like all of Polacco's other stories, is a work of realistic fiction that focuses on a relationship between two characters. Polacco shows that a friendship can occur between any two people and that despite differences, love and respect endures. The book, Pink and Say, also falls under the genre of realistic fiction and would be considered under the subtypes of a relationship story and historical fiction. Historical fiction is a literary piece that works with realistic characters and plot set in an historical place and time. Pink and Say highlights the brief but intimate friendship of two young boys, Pincus A. Lee, Pink, and Sheldon Curtis, Say, during the Civil War. It serves as a written memory of Pink. At the end of the story, Patricia bids the reader, before you put this book down, say his name, Pincus A. Lee, out loud and vow to remember him always. Patricia Polacco successfully uses her background, family stories, and creativity to invite readers into a realistic world in children's literature. She believes in the power of story and in the power of children and has the gift of uniting the two to help kids ask questions and then to come up with their own answers. Unlike most authors of children's books, Polacco does not create essentially childlike stories in which the reader becomes the central character living through his or her own story. Rather, she respects young children enough to believe that they can accept their places in the human community, playing small but essential roles in the life stories of that community and identifying with others very different from themselves. Listening to her stories, children learn to care about and to feel with those much older than themselves, those who lived in different times and places than they could ever experience, and those of different racial, ethnic, religious, and national backgrounds than the people in their own circumscribed lives. The power of these stories is that they present these differences respectfully and joyfully, often as a part of the author's own childhood, while allowing readers to participate, not just in the character stories, but in the larger stories of what it means to be human. Patricia Polacco is a gifted artist and illustrator who has the ability to create stories that are both heartwarming and eye-opening. All of her work creates lasting memories for the reader and inspires many to make a difference in their own lives and communities.